course, all the whistle that you all have given to Ratna Osman, who is our Executive Director of Sisters in Islam. Someone who, as usual, speaks very gently, but belies actually, the real tiger roaring. She's very committed to promoting an understanding of Islam that recognizes the principles of justice, equality, freedom, and dignity within a democratic nation-state, which is, of course, what Sisters are all about. And all the work in creating public awareness, advocating for reform in laws and policies. She joined Sisters in 2009 as Program Manager for the Advocacy, Legal Services and Reform Unit, and was very involved in advocacy campaign together with Jack in pushing for amendments, as you know, to the famous amendments of the Islamic Family Law Bill. And also Ratna, of course, has taken this topic to various international events in Australia, US, and so forth and so on. And I heard you were on television, were you not? Were you not on television? Or one of these media programs.
She's always on Astro.
Yeah. Always on Astro, yeah. Okay, yeah, it shows. I don't have Astro there, so I don't know. Yeah. So she has become some sort of a media personality. Yes, because I could hear these messages, watch Ratna, watch Ratna. And in Barcelona in 2011, she went to receive, on behalf of Sisters in Islam, she went to receive the CASA Award. So, for Sisters in recognition of their work. Huh? CASA Asia. Yeah, CASA Asia, on behalf of Sisters in Islam, and this is in recognition of the work done by Sisters in advocating and advancing the rights of Muslim women. So from the real world of the courts in Jeli, Penang, and wilayah, or Johor, and the very juicy high and rich court cases, let's now move to the Islamic family law. As you all know, from 1984, it has been changed. It was changed, 2007, or amended, and there were already in the past lots of heated debates about the law. And so let's hear from Ratna what has been since then the impact of the Islamic family law, the amended Islamic family law on Muslim women in Malaysia.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very honored today to speak at the same table with such distinguished academicians of Dr. Ziba, Mir-Hosseini, and Dr. Mazna, and also to be moderated this afternoon by our dear Professor Rashida. My challenge, of course, this afternoon is to wake everyone up after listening to a very rich legal history of fiqh on what it is actually when it comes to qiwamah, or the supposedly authority of men over women, and also the guardianship, the sense of how they were supposed to protect Muslim women and children, and did it actually fall through when we look at the laws and the cases that Dr. Mazna has highlighted. So what I'm going to actually present to everyone today is looking at some specific changes or amendments under the Islamic family law that has affected Muslim women in Malaysia. Before I begin, of course, I would like to just let everyone, all of us think about what marriage is to Islam. It has always been said that marriage is like building a masjid. And for a Muslim to build a masjid, it's such an honorable act, and the thawab, or the good deeds that you will get in the hereafter, is enormous. And yet, when it comes to like what Dr. Mazna has said, when it comes to divorce, it becomes ugly, becomes cheap, becomes just through SMS, or just saying I talak you by the side of the road. So you have this inequality even in the concept of marriage, and how it is so cheap to end such an honorable institution. Well, we go to our history in 1984. Okay, I think there's something. I'll just go on. In 1984, Malaysia was, everyone celebrated when the law of our Islamic family law was considered as the most progressive, the best ever, one of the good models in the whole world, and the whole Muslim world were looking at Malaysia, 1984. And some of the good things that happened in the 1984 Act was that polygamy was made illegal without the permission of the court. Divorce by talaq outside court is not recognized at all. Wives' grounds for applying to court for fasakh divorce has been expanded. I mean, the grounds for them has been widened. Harta sepencarian or matrimonial property has been recognized, and this is a breakthrough, and that's why it's said that Malaysia has been front runner when it comes to the best Islamic law in the world, and introducing 5 very, very strict conditions for Muslim men before they can practice polygamy. Unfortunately, today, what we have, immediately after 1994, a lot of changes have been made, and rights of Muslim women has been taken away. Amendment in 1994, and then again in 2005, 2006, have taken away a lot of this. And because we all know that Malaysia is multiracial, and we have our 2 sets of law, civil law for the non-Muslims and our Islamic law for the Muslims. Let's, okay, sorry, I forgot to give the signal. More. Yeah, let's look at some of the interesting movement between civil law for women of other faith or for non-Muslim, and the trend of tightening and further regression when it comes to Muslim women. Now we know that in the beginning, before the reform of the Law Reform Marriage and Divorce Act for non-Muslims, there was no equality even when it comes to guardianship. There was no equality in marriage, and people, non-Muslims, have been practicing polygamy, and it was not illegal. Yeah? But because of the introduction of and the amendment, polygamy has been stopped for non-Muslims, and equal right to marriage and equal right to divorce, and of course that's the monogamy. Unfortunately, regressive amendments under the Islamic family law, which I will discuss later on, makes it easier for Muslim men to practice polygamy, and suddenly, lo and behold, only Muslim men can practice polygamy. Non-Muslims have never been practicing polygamy, right? So even the change of the idea of polygamy, it's made more pleasant to Muslims. That means it is God-given right, and yet for non-Muslim, it's unheard of. And of course, easier divorce for men, among others. Guardianship Act also was amended, giving equal rights to both parents under the civil law. Unfortunately, it is not the same, because under the Islamic law, the husband or the father gets automatic guardianship, but women, like what Dr. Mazna said, has to go through a lot of conditions for her to prove in court that she's a good Muslim mother, for her to prove in court that she abides by the Islamic law, and there is the fear that if she has a boyfriend, and even in one of our Telenisa cases where we deal in Sisters in Islam's office, the question comes that if I buy a pet, will I lose custody of my children? Sorry, a dog. A pet, cat boleh lah kan? If I buy a dog, if I have a dog as my pet, will I lose custody of my children? So the fear of, how you need to behave properly, otherwise you lose the right of your children. And however, we have managed to change the policy reform, and I really, 1994, when my firstborn, and 1996, my secondborn, I never knew about Sisters in Islam. And yet when I go to the immigration and wanting to apply for my baby, my first baby in 1994, and the person at the counter said, you cannot because the father or your husband is not here. I said, but I'm applying the international passport to meet the father. And I was the one who carried him for 9 months. What happened to my rights? And then lo and behold, of course, 2009, I joined Sisters, and then I found out that actually Sisters and also John and She Group for Gender Equality has been fighting for this, that the policy reform, and now Muslim mothers can at least sign form for transfer of schools, for surgery of their children, even if the father has been absent in their lives, not even 1 cent towards the life of his children. Yet when it comes to surgery, he has to be there to sign. But because of this policy reform, even there is a space for the mother's signature. So, and application for passport, mothers are also allowed. Distribution Act, property, equality, unfortunately, under Faraid distribution, because we in Malaysia follow Mazhab Shafi'i and taking the strictest opinion in the Mazhab Shafi'i, that it has to be to the T of what Quran said, that man gets double the share of the women. And yet, like what Dr. Ziba said, and Dr. Mazna has mentioned in the reality, but protection is not there. If a woman is divorced, her brother who get before the double share of the inheritance would never say, come here, I'll take care of you with my family and my children, but you have been widowed or you have been divorced, I will take care of you because the inheritance I got earlier, I got the double share. No, nobody will do that. Yeah, my sister's divorced, you got a job, right? You take care of your children. And your husband doesn't pay maintenance, but you got a job. So there is that inequality. And yet, so these are the inequality, even in the reform of laws compared to civil law, it is very regressive for Muslim women especially. So, like I said, I will not go specifically, just click until you get the whole thing here. So I will not go specific, you can look at the PowerPoint. But this is the problem when we, when in 1984 we said it's the best, and then 1984, 10 years later, because of this wanting to move for gender equality, so they put this introduction of gender neutral language. So in Harta Sepancaran or matrimonial property, it says any party can file action or can ask for a division of the matrimonial property when it comes to divorce or polygamy. Later we will see the problem because of this gender neutral definition. So matrimonial property, of course, it is more looking at the protection, especially of the homemakers. And most homemakers are, of course, women who stay or sacrifice a career or her education to look after the children and the husband and the family. So this is the aim is actually to protect women and children. And then, because of this lack of gender equality, we have judgment in courts where a husband is allowed to freeze the account of the wife when they are going through a divorce proceeding because of this gender neutral language. So what sisters have been pushing for is to find a clear definition of and to explain of what is harta sepancaran or matrimonial property, so that to prevent injustice. And then when we look at the wife's property, because of the problem of the gender neutral language, now the husband, before he wants to commit polygamy, he is now also going to court to ask for division of the matrimonial property, harta sepancaran, and we know that this is not fair because there is no gender equality when it comes to polygamy. Only husbands initiate or have the right to commit polygamy. A wife can never say that I want to file for division of harta sepancaran because I want to take a second husband. So the rights are different, and yet when it comes to the benefit, it has to be gender neutral. So this is the problem that the wife is facing. And then now we look at the next slide. Yeah, just press until you get everything. Okay. Now we look at what has happened in 1994 when it comes to polygamy. The best law that was introduced, it has the polygamy has the husband has to prove in court that the polygamy, the second marriage or third or fourth will be just and it is necessary. yeah, for him to take the second wife. What has happened is that in 1994 it has been changed to just or necessary. So now any applicant, which is the man, who goes to court, he can only prove that it is necessary for him to legalize his love for the woman, or it is necessary for him to take the second wife or third or fourth, because otherwise he will commit zina, adultery. Yeah. So, and in fact, the question: why are you committing zina when you have your legal wife at home, right? Not enough. When the Prophet said, those bachelors, men who are not married, when you feel the urge, when you feel that you want the woman, but you don't have the means to marry her, then you fast. What more when you are already a husband? That is what the Prophet said. How can you see a woman and you cannot control? You have a legal wife at home. You don't have to even fast, and you don't have to commit polygamy. So the solution, of course, what Sisters in Islam under also Joint Action Group for Gender Equality has been trying to push is to go back to either just and necessary, or to keep only just adil. Because that rule adil, you will see later on how difficult it is to fulfill. So the rule adil, what or how is it that the court take into consideration when a husband has to prove that it's adil? It's very difficult. That's why the necessary is possible for him. So just a necessary. So like I said just now, husband simply just said to the court that it's necessary for him to prevent zina. The deletion of condition, proposed marriage, that is on adil. And then that is the first one that has been So adil, when we look back into the Quran, it said, God said, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَنْ لَا تَعْدِلُوا, if you fear that you cannot be just, follow only one. Take only one. So there's a warning in Quran on the polygamous verse that if you feel that you don't have enough money to even sustain your first family, then you do not even venture into the dream of taking a second wife. Yeah? Justice in polygamous marriage, it has never been optional. So this is wrong when it says that you can either prove in court just or necessary, because the word adil in Quran was never an option. It was a condition for you to take a second wife or third or fourth. And yet this condition has not been honored in our Islamic family law. And then, like I said, there were 5 conditions of the good 1984 Muslim Islamic family law. The 5th condition has been removed totally, which is the standard of living of the current or the existing family must not be changed. And this has been proven almost impossible. Because if a husband has 5,000 ringgit a month and he can barely survive with one family, that 5,000 ringgit has to be divided in order for him to take a second family. So for him to prove that in court, it's almost impossible. So anyone who applies can never go to that 5th condition, can never pass that 5th condition, unless you are like what you say, the billionaires and millionaires, the rich, the cream of the society. Then they can do it. So yeah. So what I'm going to share with you is some of the findings of Sisters in Islam's-led polygamy research, joined by activists and academicians from USM, UITM, UKM, and Royal Institute of Technology in Melbourne, is that, you know, the questions based on our polygamy research is, you know, when court decide that the husband or the applicant can be allowed to take a second or third or fourth wife, what are the benchmark, what are the conditions, or how does a judge look at it? Yeah? When it comes to adil, they say adil or just in giving time turns into marriage. Yeah? When in our polygamy research said that, the experience of the wives and also the children is that the husband has never been around. H is for husband, that's from our polygamy record. And then the failure of the husband, that he is unable to fulfill the religious obligations of just, when it comes even to giving turns, giliran, first night, the first family, second night, third night, fourth night. So we question again, since the marriage has taken place, because the court has, because these are things that will only happen later, this injustice. So we ask again, since the marriage has taken place, then how does court then take responsibility, or the law itself, making sure that this part of giliran is also being, who's taking care of all this? Nobody. When the court decides that yes, you are allowed, a taxi driver, a lorry driver with barely 1,000, 2,000 ringgit salary, having 4 wives, this has been reported in Kelantan. How does he maintain his family? So where is that warning? فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ, if you fear that you cannot do just, only take one. And then, of course, when it comes to finance, also in our polygamy research, it is said, and it has been proven, that wives, especially the first family, have been receiving less and less towards, the maintenance, towards the home, and also towards the children, because it's almost impossible for the husband with the same salary to maintain more than one family. So again, the question, where is the leadership or the protector, the ones that give the protection for the family now, when you have more than one family? Where is it? When you have received the benefit of having 2 or 3, 4 wives, and yet responsibility is decreasing from the husband's part. And later I will show you the percentage of first wives that even have to take a job after the husband commit to polygamy. So also we question, the fact that this is what to dispel or to actually argue the concept of qiwamah and wilayah, which does not happen in our daily life when it comes to polygamy, because the husband keeps on getting all these benefits under the Islamic law, fara'id, maintenance, he gets it. He has the power of divorce, he has power of guardianship, automatic. There's no rules, conditions for him to prove that I'm a good Muslim, that I don't have dog in my house. And yet, when it comes to his responsibility, when it comes to what he needs to give to his family, decrease. What are we going to do about it? What are courts doing about it? Next. So, in the polygamy research, one of the after the findings, we then question, how did this man even get permission to take second wife when their financial situation is not even enough to maintain the first family? How does court measure the competency of a man to support financially? And this, like I say, on the turning, taking giliran, and also on finance. And it's only causing more stress on the wives. And then if you look at the perception of being just in polygamy, you can see clearly, of course, the husband is still, living in a bubble, saying that, are you just, it's more than 80%, close to 80% saying that, yes, we are being just. But if you ask the wife, the first wife especially, is your husband just? And less than 40% said that the husband is just or adil. And of course, the first wife also can reflect to her monogamous marriage, and when her life suddenly changed because of polygamy. But the second wife, some of them, it's their first marriage, so they entered into the marriage as they know as a second wife. So they are a reflection of whether the husband is just, because they know already that they are sharing husband. And you can see decrease even in the children of the first wife. Just slightly above 40%. And of course, children in second wife also, even though they cannot reflect because they don't know, and yet it is slightly lower than their parents. And you look at the attitude towards polygamy. attitude towards polygamy, based, the question based on your experience, would you recommend polygamy? Most of husbands say, close to 70% still say yes. Because like I say, through all the challenges from their family members, yet they are still living in a bubble. And first wife, those who say yes, is just barely 20%. And even when the polygamy research team was going around and they were telling and sharing of their sufferings, and yet you ask them, would you still agree that polygamy, should be allowed? Yes, because it's the man's right. Yeah, because they know it's injustice. Quran talks about justice, and yet they cannot relate it because everyone, they are ustads, everyone, even one ex-mufti in Johor said that any woman who doesn't allow the wife husband to take a second wife can be murtad. More? So this is just part of 70% wives cited that they need more counseling, emotional trauma. About 50% have to go and get their own, face domestic violence. And children of first and second family, the psychological impact also is most concern to the polygamy team, because they are there for the mothers and who are actually there for them. I will skip, how much more time do I have? I'll skip the rest here because I think Dr. Mazna has also talked about this. So with all these challenges, when we know Dr. Ziba has said, talk about qiwamah and wilayah, does it have actually legal standing in the Muslim society today? Cases cited by Dr. Mazna more, until you see time for social justice and reform. Talk about fasakh, how unfair it is, because fasakh, usually majority opinion of ulama, it's the right of the women, and yet under the regressive amendment, it has been given even to men, and one of the danger is that the wife lose her right to mut'ah and even sometimes iddah if she's proven nushuz. So time for social justice, is it, now we have all these challenges and all these problems, is there a way out? Is there a way out for justice for Muslim society? We're not just talking about the women, we're talking about the women, men, and the children. So we know, today, and it has been said many times also, that any relationship must be based on, Prof. Rashida said a beautiful word, complementary, partnership, based on equality, based on justice, and especially looking at the welfare of the children. I would just like to bring in some Quranic perspective on what is the ideal relationship between husband and wife in Islam. It says that Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. They are your garments and you are their garments. Surah At-Tawbah, it says, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Dr. Ziba talked about awliya, they strengthen each other. They are the wakil of one another. That's how it's supposed to be. It is complementary and it is partnership, equal partnership. And in Surah Rum, more beautiful ayat, or more beautiful verse from Surah Rum, when it talks about mawadda wa rahmah. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And we give, so that we give among two of you, husband and wife, mawadda and rahmah, love and tenderness. Where is love and tenderness when a husband comes back one day and said that, I have actually taken another wife and we have 2 children? That's when they tell you. Where is mawadda and rahmah after years of marriage? Suddenly, your husband come announcing that he has taken. Where is mawadda and rahmah? Suddenly waking up tomorrow receiving a text message from your husband that you've been divorced. Where is that? When it is clearly in Quran what relationship is in a marriage. So we say it is possible because of this notion of saying that Islamic family law is divine. A research done said that you cannot change Islamic family law because it's divine. It's in Quran. It's never in Quran. It was discussed. It was debated. chosen from different opinions of ulama. So there has to be again a re-look and reinterpretation of what fiqh is based on today's society, based on the changes of what marriage is today in the 21st century. And then we have always been talking about the difference between sharia and fiqh. Muslims have to understand, not just to listen to the Islamic authority of saying that you do not talk about Islam because this is sensitive. You have to question them and ask, is this sharia or is this fiqh? Apostasy was never in Quran, but it's considered as sharia. You cannot talk about it. You are apostate, you die. Never mentioned in Quran. And the fact that we are also divided into our ibadah and also muamalah. Ibadah is something between you and God, personal, and muamalah is the society, the responsibility of the society. Look at maslahah or the interest of the society, which is best. Can I share a 6 minutes video? Do you have time? I can steal Dr. Mazlan's time because I think she finished earlier. So, I will conclude. I just
The chair. Yes. According to the time. Can I know this video? What is it all about?
It's 6 minutes.
What is it all about?
It is about best practices in the world and changes that are possible, pushing for equality and justice.
There's no way we can make this in 3 minutes.
Only 6 minutes. We can if you cut short.
Yeah.
But
can we get the message in 3 minutes and then
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
Because we are supposed to start discussing at 4:45.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just would like to conclude that the push for equality and justice is now felt all over the world. Yeah, it did not start 10 years or 50 years ago. It started, the seed or the push for equality actually started 1,400 years ago. And you can see here, Malaysia is mentioned only one time, unfortunately, because of the regressive amendment that divorce outside court is allowed. So Malaysia is only mentioned once in this best practice of Muslim world when it comes to have the serpent sharia.